Hello and welcome to another episode of Moose's Gear Goo Review. I'm Moose, and today I have a knife review. A knife review of something small but awesome. And that knife is the Byrd Starling 2. The Byrd Starling 2. Now get this. So when I got into knife collecting, one of the first knives I ever got was this one, Byrd Raven 2. And I loved it. I do love this. This is probably my favorite knife out of my entire collection. It's fantastic. And I always looked at knives as like, what's a practical size? What's something small? What's the most useful size to me? Well, they always say the most useful knife is the one you have on you. I don't know if there's anyone who doesn't have the ability to carry something small like this on them at any given time. Now, clearly, if you work certain places that you need a larger knife, that's whatever. But for the most part, in everyday life, even carrying something small can be tremendously useful. And I'll get back more into this in a sec, but I'll read over the specs and then we'll start talking about comparisons. So the overall length of this little guy is 4.4 inches. The blade length on the Byrd Starling 2 is 1.94 inches. The cutting edge on this little guy is 1.75 inches. The blade thickness, which once again, I always love a little bit more thicker blade compared to some other knives, is 0.09. The blade material is CTS BD1 blade steel, which is my favorite blade steel for just general all-around blade steels. To me, it's just the most practical. It has really good corrosion resistance, easy to sharpen, takes a great edge, and it holds it for a fairly long time. If you're a fan of VG10 blade steel, CTS BD1, as far as sharpness and holding of edge, is very similar, but then it has way better corrosion resistance. So excellent blade steel on this. Super psyched when I found out about this, because when I did order this, I ordered it from Blade HQ, and on the Blade HQ website, now Blade HQ, if you're watching this, the Blade HQ website has it listed as 8CR13 MOV. Now 8CR13 was what the old Starling 1 was, but now they upgraded it to CTS BD1, and it's an awesome upgrade, and I just can't say enough of how useful the steel is, especially for the price. Great steel. It's a drop point blade. I love this blade shape. It is a satin finish. It's a plain edge blade. There's no serrations. The handle length is 2.46 inches. It is a G10, black G10 handle material, handle scales, and is a mid-lock or a lock-back knife with the David Boyd detent in there. Going back to the blade shape, with the bird eye opening here to help you open the folder. There is also some mild jimping on the back of the thumb ramp that actually locks your thumb in there really well, so pretty awesome. The overall weight on this little guy is just over 1 ounce, so it's 1.05 ounces. So I mean, if it was enlarged, it might be considered heavy, but for this, you're not going to notice it. And honestly, the weight gives it a feeling of being much more robust and very durable, as well as the construction of it. So besides just having solid construction, a thicker blade stock, the weight actually just makes it feel that much more robust for such a little knife. Other than that, those are pretty much the specs. Because it is a mid-lock back, this is a great ambidextrous knife. There are only two kind of rivets or pins. We have the lanyard hole tube, and then we have a pinned pivot. So unfortunately, you can't take this apart. But it's such a small knife, and it's put together so well that I don't think it would need much maintenance or customization, I guess would be hindered, but whatever. As far as the writing on it, says Byrd CTS BD1, which is the blade steel. And then this knife is made in China. All the Byrd line of knives are made in China. But the other cool thing is that it has the initials of Sal Glesser, the founder of Spyderco. So Sal actually designed this knife. So I used it and I've carried it for a couple days now. It's relatively new on the market, and I'm sure this knife will slowly start to build once other people review it and use it. But so far, super awesome. I carry this in the coin pocket on my jeans. Just fold it up and stick it in there, and it's just a perfect spot for it. I've used it to cut open boxes. This handhold here is really well, and then the shape, the fact that it kind of is a continuous curve of a drop point, really makes it comfortable for like this type of position for doing more specific cuts. Sliding along the seam, the tape seam of a box, it handles really well, and you have really good grip. I kind of put my thumb in the eye hole there, and so really awesome. Love the blade shape. And going back to the bigger Byrd, as you can see, it's kind of the standard Byrd blade shape drop point, which I just love. I think it's just a really cool shape, sexy looking shape. And it's just neat to see that the same blade shape, more or less, is brought down into such a small, tiny package. And it's cool that all these knives, CTS BD1, Black G10, CTS BD1, Black G10, all kind of fit into each other's looks and motifs. So really cool. Love this knife. So that's the comparison to the Byrd Raven 2. But that being said, it's not fair. So let's compare it to some other knives, but real quick, it's got stainless steel liners. They're kind of polished, look really classy and shiny, all satin finished, and yeah, I don't know what else to tell you about it. It's just a cool little knife. So, anyways, comparisons. We have the Spyderco, and now this is probably the one that's going to be most compared to Spyderco Ladybug in the racing green FRN and the ZDP blade. And I'll put that one right there because you'll see the similarities in those right away. But to compare them to some other small folders, I have a Gerber dime, small multi-tool. I have the Boker Plus, I'm on it, fixed blade neck knife. As far as just showing the cutting edge on that guy, and I'll have to do a review on that. And then finally, I have the Spyderco Black G10 carbon fiber laminate dog tag knife. So as you can see, blade wise, I'll line up the blade tips with that white line over here. As you can see, it is a fairly long cutting edge. It looks pretty much on par with the Ladybug and the I'm on it neck knife. The dime and the dog tags are just short. Handle length wise, as you can see, it matches up or lines up with the tips on that line. Pretty much the same size handle as the Ladybug. The handle of the dime, if we lined up the handles, would be similar as well, but the Starling 2 has a longer blade. As far as blade thickness, because that's the only other fair thing to judge on these, we'll start with this one. It's a very thin stock there, but you can see how much more robust this small Starling 2 is compared to the dime. Then we'll do the dog tag folder. Now the dog tag folders for such a small little knife is actually has a really solid blade stock. So that S30V blade there is thicker than the Starling 2, but not by much. The I'm on it fixed blade neck knife. It looks to be about the same thickness. There might just be a hair thicker, but it's a fixed blade, so that's what you expect. The biggest difference is with the one that has basically the same dimensions. It is literally the same handle, just in G10, where this is FRN, so this is tremendously lighter. It's about a half an ounce, where this is a full ounce, is in the blade thickness. So as you can see, the ZDP blade on the Ladybug is much thinner, which helps with the weight, but it feels much lighter and still feels solid. But when you hold this one compared to it, the Starling 2 is way more robust and stronger feeling. So there's the comparisons in that. The only other thing I have for this awesome little bird is the ugly brown glove test. Now, the ugly brown glove test is a test for me to see how well the knife feels in hand as far as wearing a bulky, clumsy glove. The G10 has that fabric texture, and the choils, as far as the fingers go, really kind of lock it in, especially with that thumb. Though I don't have the best grip because there's a lot of space still left in my palm, I still feel like I have a substantial enough grip to do some light carving and cutting of some cardboard material. That being said, it is a lockback. I can close it one-handed. By doing that, the bottom part of the blade stock there actually will hit my finger and stop before cutting me, as long as I keep my finger in that choil, but I don't recommend closing it this way. But it is doable. As far as the one-handed open, this is probably where this knife suffers the most. I can do it with the glove. It is a little bit more challenging, and I do have to reposition the knife into a specific spot for me to open it, and it is not quick by any means. I'm sure with practice it could be, or if with smaller hands this might be easier, but for the most part I don't have a problem using two hands to open and close this knife, and it's just cool. Alright, so that being said, check out the Starling 2, really awesome. I think I got this off Blade HQ or was it Amazon? Either way, I saw both of them. I think it's around $30, maybe even cheaper, maybe even more expensive, give or take $10. We'll say 35 just to be safe. So around $35. Awesome BD1 blade steel, really solid construction, feels great. Check it out. For reviews on any of these other knives, check the eye in the upper right hand corner. Like, subscribe, and comment. And thanks for watching. I'll see you guys outside.